Well, I don't know if the ship is. I'll have to reinvest some time in trying to find out if the ship has ever been in this condition before. I'm not sure that it has. So I can't tell you that I've got the immediate answer. We'll work at it. I know that.
Is Oklahoma that much more talented than your team, or did you notice issues with effort today?
Oklahoma is a better football team than we are. Yes.
What was especially Kyler Murray? What was he able to do to have success today?
What was?
Kyler Murray.
What about him?
Yes. What was he able to do to have success?
Well, what he always does. You know, he can throw the ball quite well. He's got that great quickness and change of direction and manages his team quite well. I think he's excellent quarterback. I haven't looked at all the stats here, but I know I'm sure they were good. But anybody in this league that can throw the ball around at a 70% clip has got to be a pretty proficient player, and particularly at his size. You know, to be 5'10" and be able to see out and make all those throws, pretty special youngster.
Coach, how much of this was an effort issue, if any at all?
A portion of it. How much, I can't tell you right now.
One play that stood out earlier was the 82-yard touchdown pass in the first quarter. At that point, did you have an idea that this was going to be a long day?
Well, you know, if it were a contested pass, the answer would be no. But the answer was yes. It wasn't a contested pass. We didn't have anybody around it.
How much did the defense miss Duke Shelley today, you feel like?
Well, play he's talking about is a portion of it, but I mean it's more than one position. It was across the board. We were not very good anywhere.
Do you think he'll be back sooner than later?
I doubt it.
Falling behind early against top 25 teams seemed to have been a symptom of this team so far this season. How bad does that put you guys back when teams are running it up early in the game?
Well, if they're scoring at will, I mean, the answer is obvious. You know, you're not very good. You're not very good, and you know, if they're scoring a lot of points early in the ball game, it can be a long day. But you know, and again, it all goes down. It's not Oklahoma. It's not anybody else. It's all about us. You know, and whether or not we'll compete and do the things that we're supposed to do. And you know, if we do, then we'll be all right. If we don't, we won't.
Is this the kind of game, Coach, that it's a bad loss? Do you go back at the end of the season, and does this game cause you to reevaluate some things? Is it on that magnitude?
Well, I'm not going to wait till the end of the season to reassess things. I mean, that's ongoing.
Rushing defense gave up a lot more yardage in the second half than in the first half. Was that wear and tear? Was there something they did differently in the second half? Anything you can point to?
Well, there's probably some things I could point to that I wouldn't share in here.
What do you say is the key to turning things around over the last couple of games?
Well, we've got more than a couple ball games. You know, it's got to start. If you're talking about the rest of the season, you know, we're just got to make a commitment and decide. I mean, it's an individual thing. I can't speak collectively for everyone in the room. I think each player has to do some soul searching and decide, you know, how important it is to them, how much they care, how much they want to compete, whether they want to give up or not. I mean, there's all kinds of those values that are significant right now to do some in-depth soul searching, and some will come out of it with the right response and will make us better. Others may not.
Devin Ansell's punts seem to put your defense in a decent field position. Obviously, defense gave up the touchdowns, but how crucial was his play?
Well, I think he could have made a dramatic difference in the ball game had we played well in other phases of the ball game. You know, he hits the ball quite well. He had one that he shanked out of bounds, but he has a capacity to not only hit for distance, but to be able to get it up in the air and give you a chance to cover it so you don't get the big returns. But I mean, today field position didn't seem to matter, unfortunately.
After Alex ran just so effectively the last two games, what was it that Oklahoma did today to bottle him up?
Well, as I've said so many times, it's not all Alex that has allowed him to have success or us to have success in the running game. He had a lot of young guys helping him up front. He didn't get that much help today.
It's been a while. Justin Silman was able to see the field and got a touchdown. What do you attribute his ability to get on the field today, and how did it feel for him to be able to score a touchdown?
Well, I think it felt good for him. I mean, he really, not just a touchdown run, but he ran well during the course of the ball game. He had one, the last carry that he had wasn't too hot, but really, 8 or 9 times. I don't know what he carried the ball, but he did a nice job while he was in there collectively, and that was rewarding for me to see because, it's hard for him to be a backup to a guy that's, rushing for 100 and whatever it is yards per ball game and not have an opportunity to get on the field, as much. Justin's a good player.
What made it so hard for your offense to get going today?
Pardon?
I said, what made it so hard for your offense to kind of get going today?
Well, Oklahoma had a lot to do with it. I mean, I'm not, but, as I've said so many times, it's really about us. We didn't do the things that I think that we're capable of doing as well as we're capable of doing it. And then there's a multitude of answers to that question that addresses everyone, myself and coaches, players, etc. There are a lot of reasons.
Alex Delton traveled and dressed out today. Could he have played if the situation had called for it?
Well, I didn't want to put him at risk, for injury. He's not totally where he needs to be.
I know we talked a lot about how sometimes numbers don't tell the whole story, but I mean, for you, was most concerning thing today giving up more than 700 yards of offense?
Is that concerning to me?
Well,
Are you
just
kidding
saying,
me?
was that the most concerning
Jesus.
part of it?
What is the most concerning
Yeah.
part of it? Well, that they got it with ease. That it didn't, it didn't make any difference what they did. Everything they did had success, and and schematically we're sound enough defensively that if everybody does what they're supposed to do, that's not going to happen. Part of it was tackling. I mean, we were a kindergarten team tackling. You cringe at that, not like I did though. Yeah, I mean, and that's part of the basic mechanics of playing the game of football.
Bill, you mentioned it, or you said it's on everyone individually to, find it within. In the grand scheme, just how hard is it to pick yourself up after a day like today?
Well,
Within a week's time?
I think it defines your character, doesn't it? I mean, put yourself in a similar position, and and things that you do in your life. And when those tough times come, you've got 2 options. You cash it in, or you do something about it, and have the courage to step forth and be as strong as you can. And that's the option we all have. So is it hard? Of course it is. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
There are a lot of people out there, Coach, wondering about the team right now, and I'm just curious if you had a message to Kansas State fans right now. I know you're thinking about everything yourself, but what would be your message to fans right now after this loss?
Well, K-State fans have always been great. They've been supportive. They were there when we were a terrible football team and a terrible program, and they've been there through the good times, and I would encourage them to understand that those will always return.
Coach, what did you think about Skylar's game today?
Who's?
Skylar's game today.
Skylar? Well, he did some decent things. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't, it wasn't horrible by any stretch.
I know he didn't get an opportunity to do much today, but how positive is it to have Blake back and being able to kind of get back in the groove?
I was pleased for him. He hasn't been able to kick much. I think he kicked 10 extra points a day, and then to come in, and he was, in a position to do the field goal stuff. His range was very limited today, but I was pleased. He's a neat young guy. He's a great worker. He's one of those guys that'll compete every opportunity he gets.
talked a lot about the way people can respond to this, or kids can respond to this. The same question for you: is this a challenge for you, or is this something you move past pretty quickly?
Well, it's always a challenge. I mean, every day, you know, when you're in this profession, every single day is a challenge for a lot of different reasons. You know, sometimes it's because you get your fanny kicked, and sometimes it's for other reasons as well. And you know, if you're not going to last in it, then it's not a very good profession if you can't respond to the downside of it, because there's always a downside. So you just like again, I couldn't ask our players, you know, or anybody else in our program to keep fighting on, you know, and rally back and invest your best effort and do it with a great attitude and all that goes along with it if I couldn't do it myself.